Hi, I'm Jared Stock. I race for the ISDE Team Canada trophy team. I race for Southland Power Sports in Medicine Hat, Alberta, and KTM Canada, Leatt, Rhino Power, and SOR Enduro Racing.
All right, so I'm here with Jared Stock. Jared, you're a member of Team Canada ISDE. You're getting ready to go to Argentina. What is it, 1 week until you go?
Yeah, we fly out 1 week from tomorrow. So we fly out Saturday, we get there Sunday, and then we'll start pounding the pavement or sand, whatever we got to walk for all the special tests.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously that's going to be a fair bit of ground to cover.
Yeah. Normally, it's like 30 tests or 20 to 30 different tests to memorize. But this year we read the notes on the course, and it's going to be, I think, 12. So they'll repeat a couple of days each time. So it's actually less tests than we normally have to memorize and walk. So
that'll be interesting in terms of speed and competition, I guess.
Yeah.
It's going to be a memory.
Yep. You know, those guys over there are so good at memorizing like multiple courses. That's what they race over there, the enduro format. So they got it dialed. So I think for us, particularly, myself, Tyler, coming from a motocross background, it's pretty helpful having repetitive tests for us to memorize and get faster, choose our lines a bit faster. So I'm actually looking forward to it.
But for people out there who aren't too sure, why don't you talk a little bit about what ISDE 6-day enduro racing is?
Yeah, for sure. So the ISDE stands for International 6-Day Enduro. So it's a 6-day enduro. It's been going on for, I can't remember I think we're on 100 years or something. You got 5 days of 200 plus kilometers a day, usually 7 to 7.5 hours a day. Each day consists of 6 special tests, and then an hour transfer in between those. So special tests will last between like 5 to 20 minutes, depending on the length of the test. So you do 6 of those your day, and then transfer 200 plus kilometers in between each day, and you have to stay on exactly on time every time, or else you get dock penalties or disqualified.
So really a rally format.
Essentially, yeah, it's kind of like a enduro rally format, and then 6 days in a row, and the last day of the day 6 is a motocross race. So transfer mode.
So one of the unique things about ISDE racing is no mechanics, really.
Yeah, for sure. I guess I always forget about that portion. So at the end of every day, you have a 15-minute work period. So we'll change 2 tires off the bike. So wheels come off the bike. We'll put new tires on the wheels, put them back on the bike, front and rear, air filter, and all of that within a 15-minute window.
And when you say we, it's kind of the royal we. It's you, the rider.
Yeah, I'll say we as our team. Each rider has to work on their bike individually. You can't have outside assistance. Outside of a couple things is an immediate disqualification. So, you got to learn how to change your own tires and fast.
What's your record tire change time?
I haven't really done a time thing to know what my record is, but last year in France, we were given like a 15-minute in our window, and I usually had about 7 minutes to spare by the end. I'd do my 2 tires, an air filter, and then I still had 7 minutes to go finish to get it to impound of the night. So I usually can get 2 tires and a filter done within 6-7 minutes.
So tell me a little bit about your history in dirt bikes. Like, I know you've ridden motocross. You've been to ISDE several times.
There'll be 6 times, yeah.
6 times. And I think there might be some medals in there.
Yep.
So why don't you give me a little bit of that background, like how you came to bikes, and how you progressed into the enduro side of things.
Yeah, for sure. So grew up in Medicine Hat, Alberta, and that's conveniently where we are right now for the Triple Crown Arena Cross. So it's pretty cool, heritage moment. But yeah, I started riding when I was 4 here. Just down in the river coulees over here is where our original motocross track was. Grew up doing a little bit of off-road, mostly only off-road, and a little bit of motocross. We had a really cool facility here growing up, so it was we had a little bit of both. And then, my dad was a racer for cross country, so I started doing that a little bit. And then I got the taste of motocross when I was probably like 12, 13. I kind of got hooked on it, and so I raced motocross from when I was like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I went pro when I was 17. Raced the national circuit four or 5 times, and then kind of spent all my money. I worked on drilling rigs to do it all, so I kind of got tired of that rat race and wasn't really excelling past that 10th place in moto, so I was going to step away from it completely. And then actually got I moved away from Medicine, went to school, and then got the invite to ride this ISDE. I remember the phone call. Hey, you're interested in riding this off-road event, the ISDE, like for Team Canada? And I was like, absolutely. Like, I'm in Italy. Sweet, let's go ride
what is
dirt bikes.
this? Yeah.
And then I immediately like take out my phone. I'm like, ISDE. I'm like, I have no idea what this is, but let's give her a go. And then I like read it. I was like, oh, I got to do 2 tire changes. Like I remember practicing it the first time. Like I was doing. It took me 30 minutes to change these 2 tires, and I was like, I gotta bust that down to 15. So yeah, I raced that in 2013 in Sardinia in Italy, and then I was hooked. I raced it in Argentina in 2014, and then Slovakia in 2015, and then I focused on racing off-road in the GNCCs the year after that. So I couldn't afford to do 6 days and GNCCs, so I chose that for a year. And then I got hurt for 2018 racing those whoops down there, something similar to that. So 2018, 19, 20, I was off with a concussion.
Not the worst timing, I guess, in hindsight.
Yeah, for sure. My first year back for 6 days was supposed to be 2020, and it got canceled. 2020 or 2021? Yeah, 2020. And then so it got canceled, and then my first year back at 6 days was 21 back in Italy. So and now we're heading back. Then we went to France, so that was 5, and now we're going to Argentina again. So it'll be number 6.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your successes at ISDE.
So my first one, I was a silver medal timing. So how the medaling system works is you have to be within a certain percentage of time from the fastest class leader. So in my first attempt was a silver medal, so I was 20% off the pace. And my second attempt was Argentina. I actually got 10th in E1 in the world, which was a really cool finish, but top guy was so much faster that still got a silver medal there. Slovakia, I rode the club division, so I ended up with a gold medal there, but it was club division. I wasn't racing the top guys in the world. And then went back to Italy in 2021 and rode E3 in the 500 class.
And what's E3?
So each class is so similar to like MX1, MX2. E1 is 250, E2 is 350, 450, and E3 is 500s and 300 two-strokes. So 500 four-strokes was my thing for the last few years. So in E3, since I've been back in Italy, I got gold in E3. And then in France, I got gold in E3 again. So this year, I'm back in E3 on a 300 two-stroke, and the goal is obviously gold. But we're really got a good team together, so we want to work on that overall team finish and beat that from our first year back in France as a 7th we got as a team.
Yeah. So tell me, I mean, the team is you, Owen McKill, and Phil.
Yep, and Tyler.
And Tyler, that's right. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so
Tyler.
Tyler Pedalia, Phil Shaney, Owen McKill, and myself. We get along great as a team. It's kind of a cool environment with racing motorcycles. You know, we have teams in this stuff where we're racing side by side as teammates, but this event is a little different than that. We're actually going for a team finish. So we've been getting along really good. We've been together now for a few years, so we've been traveling the countryside, attending each other's races and training together. And even though we live 45 hours apart from each other, it's been awesome to get to know them over the last few years.
So this is a great segue, I guess. When you talk about racing each other's races, tell me a little bit about what you've been up to this year.
This year, something we wanted to bring to Canada and Alberta was the Sprint Enduro format series. It's something that we've seen in the States them implement and be quite a bit more successful at the ISDE. So essentially in the Enduro format, you're doing the special tests and the transfers, and in the Sprint Enduro, you're simply setting up special tests only. So it's for us to practice getting fast in that sprint speed in more of the off-road and Enduro obstacles. So Courtney, my girlfriend, and I were really keen on bringing that to Alberta. Actually, Canada is our goal. We don't want to just stop at Alberta, and so we took a shot at it this year for the first year, and we spent every single dime we've ever saved up and went for it. And so we had a 5-round series in Alberta this year. and it was epic. Honestly, it was so cool. We got to see some different properties that haven't been on the circuit in a while, and especially with the sprint enduro format, it was just something a little different. So yeah, it was really, really fun, and we were looking forward to building that across the West Coast for sure.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the company.
So SOR, it's stock off-road racing. We started it as a promotions company, as something we just wanted to utilize it to help build off-road racing in Canada. And because we're located in Alberta, that's where we're starting. So we kind of wanted to take things that we've learned from racing across the world and apply it here, and you see all the different types of racing and people involved in it, and try to hone that in and bring it into what we have here. So and it's kind of spread in between just, some of the cool products that we see across the world. We want to try to get at that stuff here, event promotions, whatever. We just want it to be a reflection of the lifestyle of racing off-road motorcycles.
Yeah, and from I think I only made it out to 2. I don't think I made it to 3, sadly, because first one I went to was at the Brooks motocross track, and I had no idea what to expect. I was like, okay, I'll check this out, and it blew my mind. As a photographer and moto media guy, I looked at that and I was like, this is amazing. It's so similar to motocross in the sprint format, where you're just running moto after moto after moto.
Yep.
You get more motos in than you would at a motocross race.
Yep.
And it was great. I kind of looked at it and thought about it from the perspective of my friends who have just started into moto and enduro world, and it seemed really accessible and really just you get a ton of riding in some cool spots. And also you mentioned places where the circuit hasn't been in a while. I went down to Temple Hill and Raymond, and talk about just an amazing track.
That is the cool thing about sprint enduro racing. I mean, you get, as a pro, a speed wise, you get 45, 50, almost an hour's worth of ride time in a day, back to back to back to back. As at amateur levels, you're getting an hour and a half or 2 hours of ride time, and it is the environment that makes it pretty special. You do your sprint lap, you come back, and everybody talks about, wow, I did this, I jumped this, you seen that, and it's a camaraderie that's like nothing else that I've seen around.
Yeah, and even in the short time, relatively short time from Brooks, which I think was June.
Yeah.
And then going to Temple Hill Raymond in early August or late July, early August.
Yeah.
Just watching the way that people were approaching it and taking it more seriously, and people were out walking lines, walking track, and really putting it in, and that was very cool to watch. Just the progression and the speed from those two events.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing that stood out for me is how many people in the Alberta moto community started crossing over once the word was getting out.
For sure. And that's kind of the plan behind the series and SOR, is we want it to, when people are competing in it, we want to train people to practice for a 6 days type event, because we believe there is some serious talent that can perform. And crossover athletes, you look at Tyler Medallia, he's going to be one of the top guys at 6 days, I know for sure, this year. And he's been getting better and better every year. Spent, most of his career thus far racing motocross. But it's just a really cool crossover. And same with myself. I wasn't the top guy in moto, but I've had way more fun and success crossing over and putting it in this. So that's what we really want to spread to as many people as possible, is that there's so many different avenues of racing that we can utilize, and seeing that happen this year was really cool, and having people start walking tests, and once they get a hold of that and see what it's meant to us, that's our hope, is that they'll maybe try 6 days and we can start building and developing athletes. And that's one thing too, I guess, with SOR, is really what we want to do ultimately is we'll create a business out of it so that we can make funds and then reallocate that right back into developing the riders of Alberta, and whoever's really racing our series. Is if we have somebody that's really excelling at sprint enduros, we'll help them, we'll grow them, and we want to send them to a sprint enduro event, against the top people in the world.
That's incredible. I know that at the couple races I was at, I saw people from Saskatchewan, from BC. I don't know if people came from a lot further. It is your first year.
Yeah.
If people are interested in checking it out and learning a little bit more about where do they go to learn more about SOR?
The best place is Instagram at SOR Enduro Racing. That's our handle on Instagram. That's the best way to get a hold of us. Courtney's got everything on lock on that. I'm a scatterbrain. Like, I try to reach out to me, I'll forget or I'll lose it, but she's on it if you reach out through that page. And that's the best way, honestly, to get a hold of us. And then you'll see the content, and we always share stuff. We're keeping things fresh through there, what we're up to and what's coming up.
If we want to just throw it back to ISDE for this year, so you going in, what are your goals?
So year after year for me, because I'm more of like a consistency, non-risk taker type rider, I've just been working on raw speed, trying to get faster and just show that we can, compete at a higher level. So I've been spending every year after year just working on roll speed and raw speed and line choice and creativity and limiting mistakes. So I just want to, be a solid player with my teammates. And, every time I go out, they know I can, if we need somebody to put that one time in, I just want to be that guy that they can count on.
Yeah, and as a team, on the men's side, have you guys spoken about a goal for the men's team, or you're willing to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I think the untalked about goal is just that we want to top that. When we first came back as a team in 2021, and we got a 7th, and we got the Watling Trophy, which is a huge award in Europe. I mean, it's funny we didn't really get any promo for it
and what is it?
So it's the FIM's award for the most improved performance as a team. So we were awarded that in 2021 from the FIM. So it was really cool. I mean, it was some good. And that year we had our teammate Cade Walker with us, who he's down racing in the States right now in the NGPC series. And so, it was him, me, Tyler, and Phil who had got that trophy. And yeah, it was really cool. It's a big deal. It's a cool trophy, and it just kind of fell flat in our neck of the woods because really nobody's knows about the 6 days much here. But so that's kind of our goal. To win that again would be even cooler, because if we say we can get a top 5, how cool would that be? That would be really, really cool, and we were all so hungry for it that we want to do well. So,
what would you say to a young athlete who's riding motocross, riding dirt bikes, and is interested in learning more about this? Like, what do you see as the progression and the path for a young rider who wants to go that way?
Into the enduro?
Yeah.
So I actually do have a handful of people that I coach now, and anybody that's interested, I always kind of share the same stuff, is to experience as much of it as you can. So, don't strictly do cross countries, don't strictly do motocross. Try to get your feet wet in all of it so you become a super well-rounded rider. And because one of them is as important as the other one. So raw speed, you need to learn it from motocross. Cross country, you need to learn your line choice and selection and your consistency. And then you need to mold it all together to be a well-rounded rider. And so you just take every opportunity to get as much experience in as you can.
Yeah, in the Alberta example, a couple of people who spring to mind for me would be Hayden Dupuis.
Yeah.
He's killing it in the GNCCs.
Yep.
Sawyer.
Yeah.
Sawyer, he's, riding everything from, and I look at those guys and what they're doing, and, I see Ryder Saffron starting to jump into GNCs.
Yeah.
Jaden Riley, I see those guys, and, I sort of asked Jaden a little bit about that, and he's like, yeah, it's fun. I think he's still pretty dedicated to motocross, but yeah, you look at that's, when I saw Tristan Hart come to Wild Rose in between Red Bull Outliers and the start of the EMA Endurocross series, people were talking about that, and I was like, yeah, for me, speed is speed. And, you get fast in one discipline.
Yeah.
You were a fast guy in moto, and that translates.
Yeah, it does, and vice versa. I was fast in moto, and I wasn't the top person. And when I stepped away and started training in enduro, and then I came back to moto, I was actually finishing better than when I left racing full-time moto. So it's just becoming well-rounded in all those skill sets. And I think the other thing on top of, the skill set alone is building a brand. One thing that I think not a lot of us do, when you get to the point now, where I'm at, where I'm putting everything I have into it and you're looking for something in return, you got to have something to sell more than just your raw speed on a motorcycle. So to help the whole industry in itself, it's like building a brand, taking advantage of experiences, and if you can help out at a race here, help out. If you can, get your name here, and then just being super professional and all that. It just all goes. You have to take every opportunity that you can here.
And maybe just building off of that. What's it like being an enduro-focused rider, an enduro business person? What is kind of the difference in terms of seeking out sponsorship and deals from the enduro side versus the moto side?
Yeah, so there's a struggle there for sure. I think the market. I think if you look at numbers of what's sold, enduro's massive, and I don't know if it's completely caught itself on what. I guess enduro's massive. I would say in Canada, it's for sure. You look at like bikes sold, and globally. I mean, there's still way more efforts put into the motocross side of things, from what I can see, which I'm not upset about. It's built the industry the way it is today, and so I think the more we focus on seeing where those numbers are going and where the participation is headed, then enduro will start to pick that up. But that's one thing if I were to be solely racing based on, what I'm getting in return financially from racing, I would have quit a long time ago. I've had to, figure out how to find my own ways to create income on the back end to do this. And it's been fun and creative. And that's where SOR was basically born.
Maybe one other point as we're starting to wrap things up. You mentioned this, that ISDE, you're self-funded, and it's not cheap. It's fully self-funded.
Yeah, it's fully self-funded. We get a little bit of help from our Gold Fund association, who does some fundraising on our behalf. But we're looking at, as an individual, including bringing Courtney as a support person. I think my bill is up to about $22,000 at this point, and that's just strictly coming out of income from working and on top of racing and trying to host some races. So it's crazy expensive.
So how can people, I know there are ways for people to get involved and help support that. How would you ask people to do that, or let people know how to do that?
The Gold Fund is a fundraising association on behalf of our efforts. So they do a advertising each year, or advertising for fundraising each year. So they do like raffle tickets and whatnot. But on top of that, we have some T-shirts that we usually make and sell, which covers a small portion of our expensive. But other than that, reaching out if you have ideas on what we can do for you as individuals or as a business. We're always open for opportunities to think and work with like-minded people. So that's mostly what we do, as much as we can to cover the cost.